Namaskar, friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu editorial analysis on 6th October 2023. There was a small girl aged 12 named Dorothy. She did not have her father and mother. She was living with her uncle and aunt. They all lived in a one room log house in Kansas in America. One day, Dorothy got a small dog named Toto from her uncle, and this was a gift. She liked Toto very much, and they were very good friends. One day, while Dorothy was taking her afternoon nap, a tornado struck the Kansas City, and this one log house was catapulted to another location, God knows where. When Dorothy woke up, Toto, the small pup, was sitting beside her, and she was clueless where they had landed. Her uncle and aunt were nowhere to be seen. Dorothy steps out from the log house into the outer world when she sees that a whole world of imagination is before her. She could see a tin man without a heart, a scarecrow without a brain, and an elephant, and an lion without any courage at all. How do the scarecrow get a brain? How do the lion get the courage? And how do the tin man get the heart? It is only with the help of a broom from a witch, and after which Dorothy, the 12-year-old girl, succeeds and thereby returns to her aunt and uncle. Friends, why did I tell this story? Just like a tornado which affected Dorothy and catapulted her along with her house to a different place where it was the imaginary world. The world of chemistry is always catapulting us into a different world of imagination where we have no clue where to go, and so many wonders are lying. This time, the wonder of the relationship between the color and the size of a crystal, which makes us so much wonder. Friends, imagine we were in a bus. If that bus is not so crowded and vacant, we would feel very much happy. Why so? Because we have so much of space to breathe, to take the breath, to exhale, inhale, and even walk around. However, what happens when we are found ourselves in a crowded bus? We feel suffocated. We don't like the environment. Similarly, for the atoms, this happens. Let me take up the first article of the day: Inspiring Colors. The Inspiring Colors is talking about the Nobel Prize on Chemistry which has been awarded to the trio Alexei Akimov, Louis Brois, and Mongi Bhiwandi. Alexei Akimov from Soviet Union conducted an experiment in 1980, and in 1983 the same experiment was conducted by Louis Bruce. The two did not have communication because Alexei Akimov's paper was published in Soviet Russia's one paper, and the Soviet Russia was under Cold War. The Soviet Union was reeling under Cold War. What happened? The outside world did not come to know about it. The discovery of quantum dots, which Alexei Akimov made for the first time in the history, the concept of periodic table changed. How did it change? The periodic table, which we have in chemistry, has hydrogen, helium, carbon, oxygen. So these elements are placed in a periodic table. The elements in the periodic table have certain characteristics. The characteristics are based on the notion that the outer electrons, in atom there will be a nucleus where proton and neutron are there, and electrons are circling around the nucleus. Though no one has ever seen the electrons clearly, however, the notion is that it is revolving round the nucleus. Electrons are always found in wavelengths, as the Physics Nobel Prize winner Liller has said. So, periodic table, the elements in the periodic table have the properties which is depend on the outer layer electrons. However, with the finding of Alexei Akimov and Louis Bruce 3 years later, it were found that there are a second criteria which had driven the characteristics of the elements. What is that criteria? The size of the atom. When electrons are packed together like in a crowded bus, they behaved different from when the electrons are let loose and the binding between them is not so packed, just like in a vacant bus in our example. So when the electrons are crowded together, their characteristic changed from those electrons which are let loose like in a bus which is vacant. So the same item, the same element showed different properties, though their electrons in the outer shell are not changing. However, their properties are changing depending upon the proximity of one electron with another electron of another atom. One electron, when it is restricted in space with another electron in another atom, its property changes. This is irrespective of the number of electrons in the outer shell. This was quite a significant discovery. 3 years later, I said, Louis Bruce heated to 700 degree centigrade, the cadmium soluene in a big pitcher and cadmium chloride in a big pitcher, and saw that small crystals were formed. The crystals were sized between, inside the small crystals there were tiny crystals. They were sized between around 2 to 3 nanometers to 30 nanometers. What is a nanometer? A nanometer is 1 millionth of a meter, very small one. So the small 2 to 3 nanometers size particles of the same cadmium chloride had different property than 30 nanometer sized particles of bigger size. 30 nanometer sized cadmium chloride crystals exhibited the properties of the total solvent, which is cadmium chloride or cadmium soluene. However, 2 to 3 nanometers sized small tiny particles were of the different character or behavior. The small and tiny 2 to 3 nanometer sized particles absorbed blue light and had been colored blue, whereas the 30 nanometer sized cadmium chloride particles showed red light. This was going to be interesting. Like the 12-year-old Dorothy's house, which was catapulted to a different place from the Kansas City in America, we have landed in some different place, which is very difficult to understand. Same elements, same solubles, same outer electrons, but different colors. What is this? So, this was quite an interesting discovery. Friends, this had paved the way to the world of the quantum effects of the quantum dots. These are quantum dots. And some years later, in 1993, the Mogni Vivendi, he developed these crystals into a specific size in which the scientists wanted. Why a specific size is needed, my dear friends? A specific size is needed for the crystals so that we can fine tune the crystals to our own purpose. Friends, then these nano particles, which were later named as quantum dots, having quantum effects, had several applications. The applications are in imaging. Imaging means to locate a tumor. It will help a doctor to locate a tumor. Then in TVs, for producing different 3 colors. The 3 colors of the TV screen are yellow, red, and blue. The TV is having 3 color mixtures, which is the contribution of this quantum dots. And for the drug discovery, what is drug discovery, my dear friends? To just locate the cells which are affected and providing medicines and fine tuning the drugs or the medicines for the particular cells which are affected rather than the present practice which is being followed, that taking medicine for generic use, that would not work. Friends, in cancer research, think about it. In future, we are going to apply chemotherapy only those cancerous cells which are specifically identified. We will not lose any of the other cells. Often it is seen that chemotherapy patients lose hair. That will not happen in future. My dear friends, benefits and benefits only for this discovery of the quantum dots and these different lights which they emit, the crystals emit, is lighting up our world. And just like 12-year Dorothy, who is returning to her uncle and auntie, let us return from this world to a world of reality. Let us examine the other topics of the day, friends. Friends, the next article which I am going to discuss is equality and identity. Well, why the 2011 census was not published? The census of socio-economic and caste census were not published in 2011 only because there were 46 lakhs castes. Why this is so? Because people gave their caste identity, subcaste identity, clan, then grouping. So it all complicated the matter, and 46 lakhs castes were enumerated in 2011 census. Therefore, the recent Bihar census survey, which has been conducted for the castes and socio-economic groups, contained only 214 broad heads. Therefore, the Bihar state was able to come out with the caste census report. What happens now is that 63 percentage of the economically backward sections have been enumerated in Bihar. This obviously justifies the 50% reservation which is being extended. However, the Hindu paper is telling that the objective of the constitution is to form a casteless society and providing equal opportunity to all. Therefore, it must be seen that these socio-economic differences are removed and somewhat a way has to be found out to make certain equal opportunity to all, considering within which the most vulnerable sections of the population to whom some benefits may be considered. Friends, the next article which I am going to consider is an interview which is titled, Does the Cash Take Away the Catchet of Science Awards? Friends, there is an Indian Nobel which is named as Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award, SSB Award. Recently, I discussed in a different video about this Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award. Now, they want to replace it with another award which is named Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar. Now, the government wants to rename this Indian Nobel, that is Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award, with Rashtriya Vigyan Award. What is the difference between the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award and Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar Award is that there will not be any cash prize awarded to the scientist for the Rashtriya Vigyan Prize Award. However, in the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award, there was cash prize. In this article, certain interesting facts are given. One such fact is that you may already be knowing that there is a mathematics Nobel Prize which is known as Fields Prize. Fields Prize, Fields Prize. Grigory Perelman. Grigory Perelman was awarded once approached for awarding the Fields Prize for solving a 100-year-old problem, the conjecture problem. However, what was his reply? He didn't need any money or fame. So, such was the motivation which the scientists must have. They must not vie for any award. This would hamper their scientific progress. In India, we have very few research which is going on in the R&D field. Around 1 to 2 percentage of the budget is expended in the R&D field. There are private institute awards too, but the recognition of the government gifted awards are very much higher for the scientists for getting such an award. Therefore, even though the private institution awards are existing, still the government awards are being favored by the scientists. Then, what is the next point which we may be observing is that there are some people who love science. For example, M.S. Swaminathan, the deceased scientist, agriculturist, who was got an IPS, but he did not go for the IPS and turned to the Council for Scientific Research, that is agricultural research. Now, this award, which is newly being instituted, Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar, is Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar is being awarded by the government, so it gets some credibility to the scientists. They need not be awarded any cash because the cash prize would just destroy their ability or their enthusiasm in pursuing their fields of study, is what the conclusion of the article. Friends, the next article which I am going to discuss is very important. The article is titled Defusing the Ticking Time Bomb Named Diabetes. This is by a nutritioner who was an advisor to the government. He introduced a new concept called ultra processed foods. What are these ultra processed foods, my dear friends? In short, we call it as, in common parlance, we call it as junk foods. The foods which are highly carbonated and highly sugar contained are called junk foods. So, these ultra processed foods must be taken with caution. Something like aerated drinks, something like the noodles, something like the fried and some unwantedly cooked items from the restaurants have to be taken with caution. Most of these items are packaged also. What happens is that in India, a diabetes is having an alarming rate. Around 11% of the population of India, or 10 crore population, are already suffering from diabetes. And there is a concept called pre-diabetes. Pre-diabetes means there are chances that they will contract diabetes. That number is around 14%. So, taking together, we will have around 20 to 25 crores people in diabetes a very short while from now. This is because of this ultra processed foods which people consume. More than staple foods like rice, then wheat, people love to consume the junk food, the ultra processed food. So, the writer is telling that we must write on the packets that this contains sugar or this is an ultra processed food and it is harmful for health. This practice we have to start because those who are taking this ultra processed food, they will be very much cautious before taking such food. Therefore, we must take steps to see that the packets contain the statutory warning and this must be made a law. The law has to be passed in the parliament so that just like we write statutory warning on the packets of cigarettes, on the ultra processed foods like aerated drinks and all, we must write the statutory warning that this is injurious to health. Friends, the next article which I am going to discuss is National Unity, a three dimensional view. What is this national unity? There is unity among the castes, there is interreligious unity, and there is unity among the regional groups. These three unities are necessary to culminate into a national unity. Gandhiji's idea was to unify the Hindu religion. Therefore, he took into the ambit all the castes of the Hindu religion and considered the Hindu religion as one. Gandhiji also tried to bridge a friendship between Hindu religion and the other religions in India. Therefore, he conducted the Khilafat movement and pioneered several such practices which wanted to ensure the harmony between the religions. The harmony between the regional disparities also is necessary. There is a concept that the heartland India is different from the rest of the India. The North India is different from the South India. These are the concepts which we have to bridge the gap for a national unity. Gandhi himself wanted Hindi to be the national religion. So, the national language, Hindi to be the national language. However, sensing the opposition from T.K. Krishnamachari, who was one of the drafting members of the constitution, T.T. Krishnamachari, who was one of the draftsmen of the constitution, it was ruled out. However, these three unities, building these three unities, one thing unity is the Hindus and the other castes, one unity has to be created, then Hindu Muslim, Hindu Christian unity has to be created, and the north, south, and the heartland of India unity has to be created, is what underpinned in this article, my dear friends. Friends, I have come to the conclusion of the editorial analysis. The key takeaways is that, as I said, the national unity has to be created is the first key takeaway. Second key takeaway is that diabetes has to be taken seriously and ultra processed foods have to get the statutory warning over the packets. The third one is that caste census taking is good, but what has to be done is that equality of opportunity has to be extended. And fifth takeaway is that we have the caste, we have the